Poolside Fun by Fluttershy's One. Triggers: human and pony action and outdoor sex. These don't really sound like triggers to me. Let's have a look.
Yeah.
Exactly. Let's have a look. Fun in the sun. Ah, what a gorgeous day, you exclaimed as you stretched. It was a beautiful sunny day as you relaxed on your pool floaty. It was your day off and you were determined to enjoy it to the fullest. It had been 5 months since that fateful day when you found yourself in the middle of a strange town. You had no idea where you were and no memory how you got there. As you walked through the town, to your surprise it was filled with talking pastel ponies. It would have been cool, but there was one little problem. They were all scared to death of you. You tried to tell them you were friendly, but all that did was land you in the dungeon to avoid judgment. As you found yourself in front of the ruler of the land, Princess Celestia, she looked upon you with compassion. Rather than sentencing you to death, as many ponies had wanted, she instead granted you freedom on the contingency that you report to her every week about your life in Equestria. She placed you in the town where you first arrived, Ponyville. So, there you were, in a new land filled with mystical creatures that were terrified of you. Needless to say, you were hard-pressed to find a job. Not a single pony would even bother to give you a chance. But then there was a pony who was generous enough to give you a chance. A unicorn mare whose name could only be encompassed by her beauty. Rarity. One day she saw you in the town square moping about. She saw you were depressed and invited you to come shopping with her. Normally you would have declined, but she insisted you join her. From that moment on, the two of you became good friends. She hired you as an assistant, and you couldn't have been happier. Not only did you have a place to stay, but you had a new friend to boot. However, as the months passed, you started to notice her feminine charm. It wasn't too long before you fell for her. In an act of courage, you confessed to her. Expecting to be rejected, you were relieved to find she had the same feelings for you too. And from there, your relationship started. The last 3 months were the best of your life. Your relationship with Rarity had soon blossomed into an intimate one. The nights of passion you two share were nothing short of magical. But it wasn't just the physical aspect of your relationship. You truly loved everything about her. Her attention to detail, the way she cares for her friends, her laugh, her blue eyes, her coif violet mane, you loved it all. So there you were, relaxed on a pool floaty as you took in the sun's rays. "Darling, would you mind coming here for a moment?" cooed your beloved mare. "Coming, dear," you replied. You then slid off your floaty into the pool and swam over to the pool steps. Once you were out of the pool, you headed over to your white angelic mare. Her coif mane is tied in a decorative bun with a single bang with dark red framed sunglasses. As you walked up to her, she lifted her glasses and fluttered her beautiful blue eyes. "There's my stallion," she sweetly spoke, a flip of her hair coif bang. "How can I assist you, my lady?" She then levitated a bottle of lotion to you. "Would you be a dear and give me a massage?" she asked with her trademark half-lit gaze. "But of course," you smiled. She then used her magic to lay down a towel on the ground. As you lathered your hands with lotion, your mare had already laid down on her stomach. You prepared to begin, but then took in the sight of her slender form of your lover. "Damn, I'm so lucky to have such a beautifully sexy mare in my life," you internally rejoiced. You were snapped out of your thoughts when you heard an annoyed huff. "Darling, you know it's rude to keep a lady waiting," she pouted. You couldn't help to chuckle at her antics. "My deepest apologies, my lady," you replied. Can you ever forgive me? She then turned her head to gaze at with a deadpan expression. Darling, no one likes sarcasm. She spoke with a mocked, annoyed tone. But it's my best trait, you teased. To this, Rarity merrily rolled her eyes and returned her gaze forward to rest her head on her forehooves. You then began to massage her body. As your fingers caress FiM, you couldn't help but to lose yourself in the softness of her fur. It felt as soft as the finest silk from Manhattan. While you continued to work the shoulders, you heard subtle moans from your mare. You may not be good at a lot of things, but you knew Rarity loved it when you used your magic fingers, as she called them. Darling, you're certainly in form today, she uttered. My body feels heavenly. I aim to please, you grinned. As you continued to work down her frame, you couldn't help but chuckle. This caught Rarity's attention. Something amusing, darling? She asked. It's nothing, dear. I was just thinking about my life, you answered. What about it? If you would have told me 5 months ago that I'd have a beautiful mare like you in my life and I would be giving her a massage by a pool, I probably would have slugged you for lying to me. This got a chuckle from her. Quite true, darling. Without warning, you accidentally grazed the back of her hind legs. The sudden sensation caused her to let out a pleasured moan. She quickly covered her mouth with a hoof as he turned to you with a large blush snaking across her cheeks. Sorry, Rarity, I forgot how sensitive you are there. You apologized. It's all right, darling. Just give me a little warning next time, she responded, still blushing. You still want me to keep going? Yes, please do, she nodded as she turned back around. As you continued to work down her lean body, you finally reached her supple flank. You couldn't help but to admire how curvaceous and shapely it was, and then applied more lotion and began to rub her flank. While you delivered tender service, you heard Rarity sigh with pleasure. You smiled as you took it as a sign that she was enjoying herself. As you continued to work, you slid your hand downwards toward her inner thigh. You felt the slightest shiver from your initial contact. Darling, what are you? Her question was halted by the sudden caress of her moist folds. As you softly traced your fingers over her moist opening, you felt her melt under your touch. You then saw her turn her head and look back at you with a sultry gaze. Darling, not there, she pleaded in between stifled moans. Wait till we get home. You ignored her plea and continued her playful torture. With each stroke, new waves of pleasure shot throughout her body. She did her best to try to silence her pleasured moans, but ultimately failed. Judging from her moans, you figured she had enough teasing, and with one swift motion you inserted 2 of your fingers inside of her. Her reaction was almost instant. Ha! She cried with pleasure. The sheer warmth inside of her only fueled your desire to satisfy your mare. You then smoothly slid your fingers out of her and then back inside. After a few motions, you soon found your rhythm, which each thrust you could feel her arousal grow stronger. Her silent whinnies of pleasure soon turned into feral cries of carnal bliss. Darling, it feels so good, she moaned. As you heard that, you wanted to pleasure her even more. You were then struck with an idea. You briefly stopped your thrust, which caused your mare to look back at you and whine with displeasure. Darling, why did you stop? She groaned. Trust me, dear, you're gonna love this, you smirked. You then rolled her onto her side, which caused to squeak from the sudden position change. Darling, What are you up to? She asked. You'll see. Without hesitation, you reinserted your fingers back inside of her and continued your heavenly rhythm. Then, with your free hand, you began to tenderly trace the grooves of her horn with your fingers. No, if you do that at the same time, I'll... She spoke just before she succumbed to her lust. She collapsed into your embrace as you continued your two-pronged assault of pleasure. You quickened the pace of your thrusts as well as the outlining of the contour of her horn. As you felt her walls clamp tightly around your fingers, you knew her release was approaching quickly. Not wanting to delay it any longer, you decided to use your secret technique. While you continued your administrations, you leaned down and gently nibbled on her ears. The added sensation was just enough to send Rarity over the edge. With a loud cry, she released streams of honey all over your fingers. As you removed your love-covered digits, your mare was still coming down from her orgasm. With her breathing finally leveled, she turned bollocks, fuck me. With her breathing finally leveled, she turned around to face you. As you looked into her eyes, you could see the hunger and lust that emanated from them. Quiet as it's kept, though Rarity can be a lady most of the time, but when her switch has been flipped, she becomes what she calls uncouth. Darling, she lustfully cooed, I do believe I require more of your services. It would be my great pleasure to... You were cut off by Rarity tackling you onto... You were cut off by Rarity tackling you onto your back and then straddling you. Before you could react, your mare had enveloped you in a passionate kiss. Whether you two shared a kiss... Whenever you two shared a kiss, they were always magical, but today seemed different. You could feel her desire to give you the same pleasure that you've given her, but your tongues battled for dominance, and you once again began to knead her supple flank. Her moans vibrated into your mouth as you continued the passion-fueled kiss. After a few moments, you both broke away from the heavenly kiss to gather some much-needed air. As you both gazed into each other's eyes, you both could see the wanton desire you had for each other. It was when Rarity felt something poke her. She then looked back to see your constricted member trapped in your swim trunks. She then turned her attention back to you. Oh my, darling, that looks rather uncomfortable for you, she observed with a lustful grin. Let's lose those bothersome swim trunks. Before you could respond, her horn lit up and your shorts had been teleported off of you. No longer bound by clothing, your member stood proudly at attention. Rarity then got off of you to get a better look at her prize. My. It seems as though you're in need of some special attention, aren't you, my darling? She playfully mused. I guess you could say that. You sheepishly grinned. She then placed her hoof on your exposed pride. The initial contact sent shivers down your spine as her soft hoof began to slowly rub your member. The tenderness of her hoof brought you levels of pleasure that only your loving mare could bring. Rarity, that feels so good, you uttered with pleasure. She then placed her other hoof around your rod and with one swift motion took in your whole member in her mouth. You threw your head back as you felt as though your member was going to melt. You felt her tongue coil around your shaft as she began to bob her head. Each movement sent you into euphoric bliss. She knew exactly how to please you, and you enjoyed every second of it. After a few moments of combination of her oral ministrations and hoof movements, you felt your release quickly approaching. Rarity, I'm close, you warned. This caused her to speed up her pace. After what felt like an eternity, your willpower gave way to pleasure, and you reached your climax. As your seed filled her mouth, she hungrily drank down every ounce. With the final droplets now consumed, Rarity released your semi-flaccid rod from her mouth with an audible pop. Rarity, that was amazing. You breathed as you were still coming down from your high. Well, the lady takes pride in her work, she gleamed with a half-lidded gaze. But we're far from done, darling. She then took a hold of your member and gently began to stroke it. After a few moments, it was erect once more. She then positioned herself to where her marehood was just about your shaft. As she rubbed her moist fold on the tip of your member, the sheer heat and moistness that came from her sex sent your arousal to new heights. Whoa, Rarity, I didn't think you'd be this wet, you admitted. And who do you think is to blame for that? She spoke with a mischievous grin. She then leaned down to give you yet another passionate kiss, as she continued to rub her soaking marehood on your member. As the kiss ended, you looked into her eyes and saw not just a carnal lust, but a longing for you to pleasure her. You will take responsibility, won't you, darling? She asked with a desirous expression. A gentleman always does. Without another word, she slowly lowered herself onto you. As your shaft pushed past her folds, she let out a primal moan. Darling, your body is so perfect for me, she sighed with elation. You were barely halfway in, and you could feel her walls clamp down tightly on your member. No matter how many times we've done it, she's always so tight. After you finally bottomed out, Rarity placed her hooves on your chest to balance herself. Then she slowly lifted herself and slammed herself back down. She continued for a few moments before she found her rhythm. With each thrust, the air was filled with the chorus of both your moans of ecstasy. As you saw your mare deep in the throes of bliss, you decided to give her even more pleasure. You then began to add your own force to her thrust by meeting her halfway. The added sensation caused Rarity to arch her back and throw her back to look at the sky in wanton bliss. With her tongue lolled and her eyes glazed over, she was lost in her own sensual joy. Harder! Give it to me harder! She demanded through her euphoria. Not wanting to disappoint, you shifted into a sitting position and grabbed her flank to force her body down even harder. Yes, just like that, she screamed. Then she dug her head into your shoulder and wrapped her hooves around the back of your neck. With each passionate thrust, Rarity cried out in ecstasy. Before long, you could feel that her climax was imminent. As you continued to thrust inside of her, you felt to reach your breaking point as well. Rarity, I'm almost, you grunted. She then whispered into your ear. It's okay, darling. Release it inside. Give me all the love you can muster. With nothing to hold you back, to increase your tempo and plowed deeper into your mare, her feral moans of ecstasy only fueled your ambition to make her reach her climax first. After a few more thrusts, the pleasure was too much for her to handle, and she gave in to a powerful orgasm. Darling! She howled. Not too far behind her, with one last thrust, let out a feral grunt as you erupted inside of her. Her marehood greedily took all that you could muster. After she was done milking you dry, you both collapsed onto the ground. Rarity then nuzzled your chest while still locked in your embrace. "That was heavenly," she cooed. "Well, it's always heavenly when it's with you," you sighed. "Oh, you," she giggled. As you were about to move her, she stopped you. "Would you mind if we stay like this for a while?" she requested. "Not at all, my love," you replied. As she snuggled up to your chest, you wrapped her in a tight hug. You could feel her melt into your embrace. "I love you, my special sun pony," she whispered as she started to drift off to sleep. "And I love you too, mare of my dreams," you whispered back. You both then drifted off to sleep. You didn't care if some pony came by and saw you, for in that moment, all that matters was the love that the two of you had for each other. As the sun was setting in the distance, the two of you were headed back to the boutique. Rarity leaned on you as her love for you grew more after your pool adventure. "I must say, darling, I've never seen you so attentive to my needs like you were today. You were like a man possessed," she beamed, "and I have to say I liked it." As you heard her words, you couldn't help but to feel fulfilled and a job well done. "I just wanted to return the favor," you explained. "Favor? What favor?" she said as she looked up to you, genuinely confused. You couldn't help but laugh at how cute she looked when she did that. "You showed me generosity when no pony else would. You gave me a home and you gave me your love." You spoke from the heart. "So, if at all possible, I want to show you my gratitude any way I can." You saw her eyes water as your words fell on her ears. "Oh, darling," she sighed as she nuzzled your side. You then rubbed her the back of her ear in response, which caused her to shiver. "We should visit the pool again sometime," you suggested. "Indeed, darling, that would be lovely," she smiled. You knelt down to whisper in her ear. "And I'll be sure to give you more poolside service," you said with a wink. As you stood back up, you could see that your comment caused her face to turn bright shade of red. I suppose, after all," she began. She then rose onto her hind legs to give you a tender kiss. Once she broke the kiss, she finally gave you a flirtatious wink. "How could I turn down such a generous offer?"